Your child just came back from their dad's house and said, "Daddy says you don't want him around anymore." Or maybe it was, "Why are you always so mean to daddy?" And your stomach just drops because you know what's happening. Everyone says kids are resilient. They'll figure it out. Just don't say anything bad about the other parent. But what if I told you that staying silent while a narcissist manipulates your child isn't protecting them? It's leaving them defenseless. This isn't about bad mouthing. It's about emotional armor. Your child is being weaponized and silence won't save them. Today, I'm giving you 7 strategies to protect your child's mental health without alienating them from their other parent. Let's get into it. Hey, beautiful people. Welcome back to Your Fake Apology. I'm Crystal, your psychiatric nurse practitioner, and today we're talking about something that keeps so many of my clients up at night: how to protect your child when their other parent is a narcissist. I know you're terrified. You see the manipulation happening in real time, the guilt trips, the twisted stories, the way your kid comes home confused about what's real, and you've been told to stay neutral and let them form their own opinion. And listen, that works when you're co-parenting with a healthy person. But when you're dealing with a narcissist, staying neutral is like watching your kid walk into traffic and saying, "Well, they'll learn for themselves." No, baby. They need you to teach them how to spot danger without even knowing they're being taught. This isn't about turning your child against their other parent. It's about giving them the psychological tools to recognize manipulation when it's happening, so they don't internalize it as truth. Because here's what nobody tells you: a narcissist doesn't manipulate your child to hurt you. They do it to control the narrative, and your child's mental health is just collateral damage. Let's break down exactly how to protect them. Here's where most parents get stuck. You think protecting your child means never saying anything negative about their other parent. And I get it. You don't want to be labeled as alienating. But here's the shift. You're not attacking a person. You're teaching principles. So when your child says, "Daddy says you're keeping him away from me," you don't say, "Your dad's a liar." You say, "Sometimes when people are hurt or angry, they say things that aren't true. What actually happened is blank. You can always check with me if something doesn't feel right." You're not calling him a narcissist. You're teaching your child that people sometimes distort reality when they're upset. And that's a behavior, not a fact. When they say, "Daddy says you took all his money," you respond, "Money decisions in divorce are made by judges, not by one person. If you're ever confused about something an adult tells you, you can always ask me for the full story." From a clinical perspective, what you're doing here is modeling critical thinking without demonization. You're teaching your child to question narratives, including yours, because the goal isn't to make them hate their other parent. The goal is to make them manipulation resistant. And here's the magic. When you stay factual and calm, you become the safe place for truth. When their other parent's story doesn't match reality, they'll come to you for clarity. Not because you told them to, but because you've proven yourself trustworthy. Your calm is their compass. Now let's talk about the foundation, because none of this works if your child doesn't feel safe with you. And I'm not talking about physical safety. I'm talking about nervous system safety. And here's the truth, your child is living in 2 worlds. One parent's house may be chaos, emotionally unpredictable, guilt trips, love withdrawal. The other parent's house, that's going to be the regulated nervous system that they can count on. That means when they walk through your door, they know you're not going to explode. You're not going to guilt trip them. You're not going to interrogate them about what happened at their dad's house. You're going to be steady, even when you're falling apart inside. From a psychiatric perspective or standpoint, children of narcissists develop hypervigilance. Their nervous system is always scanning. Is it safe? Am I in trouble? Did I do something wrong? So when they're with you, your job is to be predictable, not perfect. Predictable. And that's going to look like consistent routines, same bedtime, same rituals, regulated responses. You don't yell when they spill something. Emotional availability, noticing when they're off and you create a space for it, here's what's going to happen over time. Your child's body starts to learn what safe feels like. And when they go back to chaos, they feel the difference. They might not have the words for it yet, but their nervous system will know. Mom's house feels like home. Dad's house feels like performance. That's what protects them long term. You're not just parenting, you're rewriting their trauma response in real time. So here's where we're going to get tactical, because narcissists thrive in emotional confusion. They don't want your child to name what they're feeling, because once your child can name it, they can resist it. So your job, teach them the language of their emotions. And this starts young. When your toddler is melting down, you say, you're feeling frustrated because you wanted the blue cup, not the red one. It's okay to feel frustrated. When your 8-year-old comes home quiet, you say, I noticed you seem a little sad. Do you want to talk about it? Or do you need some quiet time first? You're teaching them feelings have names. Feelings are information, not facts. They can feel something without acting on it. And here's why it matters with a narcissistic co-parent. When their dad says, if you really loved me, you'd want to stay with me instead of going to your mom's. And your child knows the word for that feeling, guilt. They can say it to themselves. I'm feeling guilt, but I didn't do anything wrong. This is someone else trying to make me responsible for their feelings. That's advanced emotional intelligence. And you're teaching it through everyday moments. From a clinical lens, we call this effect labeling. Research has shown that when children can name their emotions, it actually decreases the intensity of those emotions. So the amygdala calms down. The prefrontal cortex comes online. Translation: when your child can name manipulation, it loses its power. So practice daily. That sounds confusing. You seem worried. I bet that felt unfair. You're not telling them what to feel. You're giving them permission to feel it and the words to understand it. And that's armor. Let's talk about the manipulation tactics narcissists love most. Guilt. I'm so lonely without you. I guess I'm just not as important as your mom. You're breaking my heart. And your child, they feel responsible for fixing an adult's emotions. So here's what you teach them. And you teach this early. Grown-ups are responsible for their own feelings. Your job is to be a kid. You can love someone and still have boundaries with them. You practice this in low stakes moments. When grandma says, oh, you're not going to call me, and your child feels bad, you say later, grandma's feelings are hers to manage. You didn't do anything wrong by living your life. Adults who love you don't make you feel guilty for being happy. You're teaching them love doesn't look like obligation. And when your child comes home saying, Daddy said he's sad when I leave, you just respond, it's normal for parents to miss their kids, but your job isn't to fix his sadness. Your job is to be a kid who gets to love both parents without carrying their emotions. And from a psych perspective, this is called differentiation, teaching your child where they end and others begin, because narcissists blur those lines intentionally. They make your child feel like they're responsible for the narcissist's happiness, safety, or emotional state. And you're teaching them, nope, that's not your job, baby. You can care about, someone without carrying them. Here's a sneaky one that builds resilience. Ask questions instead of giving answers. When your child says, Daddy says you don't let him see me enough, instead of defending yourself, ask, what do you think about that? Do you feel like you don't see him enough? You're teaching them to trust their own perception instead of automatically believing what they're told. When they say, Daddy says he bought me everything I have, you ask, what do you remember? Who got you those shoes? You're not telling them their dad is lying. You're teaching them to cross-reference reality, right? This is how you build internal authority. You're showing them you have a brain, you have memories, you can trust yourself, because narcissists work by eroding that trust. They want your child dependent on their version of event. But when you consistently ask, what do you think? You're building a child who doesn't need external validation permission to know what's truth, and that's freedom. Quick but crucial. Consistency creates psychological grounding. When everything feels chaotic, your child needs to know dinner is at 6, bedtime routine doesn't change, Saturday mornings are pancakes, you pick them up from school every Tuesday, because narcissists thrive in chaos. You thrive in structure, and structure isn't going to be rigid. It's safe. It tells your child's nervous system, I can predict what happens here. I can relax. Clinically, this activates the parasympathetic nervous system. That's the rest and digest mode. It's the antidote to the fight or flight they live at their other parent's house. So routine is revolutionary when you're co-parenting with chaos. Last one, make it safe to tell you anything, not just once. Constantly. If something ever feels weird or confusing at dad's house, you can always tell me. You won't get in trouble. I won't get upset. I just want you to feel safe. Because narcissists, they train kids to keep secrets. Don't tell your mom I said that. This is just between us. Your mom wouldn't understand. So you counter that by making disclosure safe, normal, and judgment-free. And you prove it. When they tell you something hard, you stay calm. You thank them for trusting you. You don't react emotionally. You need to become the place where truth is safe. All right, let's bring this home. Protecting your child from a narcissist manipulation isn't about keeping them away from their other parent or trying to control the narrative. It's about giving them emotional tools, psychological armor, and a regulated nervous system so they can navigate the manipulation without internalizing it. You teach them, name behaviors without attacking other people, trust their own feelings and perceptions, understand that they're not responsible for adult emotions, know that love doesn't look like guilt or obligation. You don't fight the narcissist, you outparent them. And every single day you show up calm, stay consistent, and emotionally safe, you're breaking the cycle. You're not just protecting your child, you're raising a manipulation resistant human. And that's this generational healing. If this episode helped you, share it with someone who needs it. Subscribe if you haven't, drop a comment, and let me know which strategy you're implementing first. I'm Crystal, your Psych NP, and this is Fuck Your Fake Apology. You're not broken, sis. You're building something unbreakable. Take care now.